Hello, welcome to TechWeb Dots. Today we are going to discuss what are the two web hosting models in Blazor. So before starting this session, I will strongly recommend you to watch my previous video which is on what is Blazor. Okay, so let's start without wasting time. So there are two web hosting models under Blazor. One is server side and one is client side. So server side hosting model is also called Blazor Server, and client side hosting model is also called Blazor WebAssembly, right? So before moving further, I would like to give more information about WebAssembly. Even I have already given in my previous session, but for this session it is also required, right? We know Blazor can run C# code directly in the browser using WebAssembly, and it runs on the same security sandbox as JS framework like Angular and React. Not just C#, even we can run any type of code in the browser using WebAssembly. So WebAssembly is based on open standard, right? Open standard means so it is a native part of all the modern web browsers, including mobile browser as well. So means for Blazor to work, there is no need to install any special plugin like back in days for Flash, like. Okay, so this is the main how WebAssembly actually works. So we will understand both one by one. So for this very first one is WebAssembly model. In this we can see there's a on the screen we can see this is a client browser, right? And client browser, all the important libraries components are downloaded, right? And then it's communicate with the DOM, which is document object model of our page, and it communicates with that and work as usual, right? So we can see for the components those are loaded on the client browser are user components downloaded, .NET libraries downloaded, and WebAssembly is loaded. So when you will first time run the WebAssembly model web application, then you will see very first time it takes a time, right? So from the that point of view, I've already told you. In fact, we can run any type of code in WebAssembly, right? There's no problem at all, because WebAssembly understand all these things, right? So it is an open standard. I have already told you, right? There's a native part of all the modern browser. So this is how actually when you will run the application with the WebAssembly model. So when you will inspect the element and select the network tab, you will see there are .NET assemblies loaded, there are Blazor assembly loaded, and there are project assemblies loaded. Okay, so every web hosting model has its own pros and cons. So I will discuss both of them. Okay, so from the pros point of view, or we can say the advantages, is its app is completely on the client machine, right? There's no active server is required 24/7, because once it is downloaded on the client machine, we can host it into our cloud machine on Azure or our own server, right? So 24/7 is not required for the server, because whole app is downloaded on the client browser. Okay, server is not required after download. Yes, it is completely true. And client processing will be used, means when whole application is downloaded on the client browser, then the processing which will happen will be on the client side, right? It means the software and hardware capabilities also plays a very important role when client is using the Blazor WebAssembly hosting model and running that application. So there are a few cons as well, which are: first request takes a lot of time to download the whole application, right? And the capable client is required, means the hardware software should be at the very good stage, right? And the supported browser is required. Supported browser means a browser support the WebAssembly model. So this is all about the WebAssembly hosting model. Let's move next. Other is Blazor Server model, right? As you can see in the image, we can understand on the server we have Blazor components, we have .NET components, and on the client browser we have document object model, right? And to communicate client and server, we need a signal R connection, right? Blazor server can run your logic on the server. Client UI event are sent back to the server using signal R, a real-time message processing framework. Once execution complete, the required UI changes are sent to the client and merge into a DOM. Because you can understand, because in earlier days, even we talk about the normal ASP.NET Web Form application or MVC application, right? What happens, there is a server, there is a client, then every time when we process and when there is a request sent to the server from client, then the whole HTML is served to the client browser. But now what will happen, only the difference will be calculated and sent to the client browser, so that makes a speed faster. That's how this Blazor server actually works. Okay, I hope I made it clear for you. So there is still for this as well, there are few advantages and few disadvantages. If you go for the Blazor server model, app loads faster, yes, because it is on the server, and uses server capabilities, means there is no a healthy client browser requirement like good processing, good software, good hardware capabilities. That is not required, because application will be served from the server point of view. Non-WebAssembly supported browser can be used, yes, because we are not using web hosting model, so any browser we can use to use that web hosting model application. Okay, and it is more secure, definitely, when the whole application and assemblies and all the libraries are not downloaded on the client browser. That site is more secure because everything is on the server. So let's take a look on the disadvantages or cons. ASP.NET Core service is required, right? Because without that you cannot use it, because nothing is happening on the WebAssembly. So ASP.NET Core services are required to run that application. Always connection is required with the server, yes, because in WebAssembly model the connection is not required every time, right? But we are using the web server model. In that case, always 24/7 active connection is required. So scalability can be a challenge, because when we talk about the WebAssembly hosting model, in that case everything is processing on the client side. So there is no scaling issue, right? Every client is using their own machine to process their own request. But in the web server model, every request is processing on the server, so scalability can be a challenge. So even that can be solved using SignalR. We can host it on the cloud, so that can be solve our problem. So I hope you like these hosting models, and in the upcoming videos I will share how can we directly create the application and how it looks like. So I will see you there in my next session. So if you have any questions, please comment, and I will revert on that as soon as possible. I hope you like my video. Thank you very much.